Good morning, everyone. So everything seems ready to go. We have Facebook Live, we have Zoom, and we are so happy that you're all here with us this morning. For those of you who are here in this room, if you would like to see the order of service, you can scan that QR code over there, and by some magic, the order of service will pop up. And for those of you who are on Zoom, it should be posted in your chat. I think it already is. So again, welcome to this morning's multi-platform, in-person, and love stream service of the River of Grass Unitarian Universalist Congregation. This morning, we are gathered here both in person, in this room together, and also, as we mentioned, on Zoom and Facebook Live, keeping us all connected and safe during this time of COVID-19 pandemic, as we transition from pandemic to endemic status. No, unfortunately, it's not over, but it is better. And after such a long and harrowing time, here we are, still together, continuing to grow and go and flow the Riverway. I'm Leanna Bresnahan. I'm the membership chair at River of Grass, and my pronouns are she and her. You in this room, you are so welcome, and it's so nice to see so many new faces here today, as well as the beloved members and friends. We also welcome, as Rev. Amy mentioned, everybody out there that's on Facebook and on Zoom. We're so happy that you are here. We're happy that everybody is here today. So let us just pause as we begin to enter into this time together as we connect with one another and with the holy by any name, the light of love that is within us all. As we take a breath in the headlong rush of our lives, we remain mindful that not everyone can breathe easy, nor find it easy to breathe. So let's just take a couple of moments here and breathe. It's amazing how hard that is to do sometimes, just to breathe slowly and deeply. In this congregation, it is our mission to nurture our spirits, love intentionally, and create a just and healthy planet in our enduring search for truth, meaning, and faith. What we share here is not an unchanging dogma, but an affirmation that we are called to be agents of love and justice, and to build a world where everyone is cherished for who they are.
This morning, we continue our September exploration of what it means to be a people of belonging. Thanks, Aaron. This morning, I'd like to begin with the beloved poem by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees and the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination. It calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing together with our choir, Here We Have Gathered. The flaming chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, a beacon of religious liberty shining through generations, now ours to hold high. As we light our chalice together this morning, please say these words together, and you in Zoom will see them in your chat. We light this sacred flame today, that by its light we may see the paths before us and live the way of love unfolding in us.
In the light of love, let us renew our covenant as we say together, love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now in Spanish, el amor es el espíritu de esta congregación y el servicio su ley principal. Esta es nuestra gran promesa, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad a través del amor y ayudarnos mutuamente.
Let us rise again in body or in spirit to sing together our beloved hymn, We Would Be One.
In our community each week, we share pieces of our lives. This too has taken a new form for our new normal, although we're getting back to the old normal, thankfully. We take a moment here with people who love us for exactly who we are, where we are right now. Here in this room, we share from this book, which is out there by our front door, so anybody can put a joy or concern in this when you enter. If you're in Zoom, we're going to open up our chat so that you can put your joys and concerns in the chat, and we will share all of them.
We remember too those the world over who are in places of suffering, and also those who are celebrating today, for life does go on in these two rivers that run together, the ones of our joys, the ones of our sorrows and concerns. We are part of all those rivers, and all those rivers are part of us as they ever run to the sea that is this existence that we share. Source of all known by many names, none of which we can fully know nor understand. We bring these things written and unwritten, spoken and unspoken. We ask that our hearts be seen, even as we become greater seers of hearts. We send comfort to those who need comfort this morning. Strength, courage, care. We bind up broken hearts, and ours grow with those that also celebrate. For we know that the well of our sorrow is also the place that joy carves in us. In this time that continues to be a time of change and uncertainty, we ask for the power of community. We ask for the willingness to wait, to learn, to grow, as we understand what is to come and how best we serve this world that we wish to transform even as we transform ourselves. We lift all these things in the name of all that is holy. Amen, amen, amin, aho, ashe. Blessed be. Namaste. And so it is.
We sustain and strengthen this beloved community and its work in our world through the gifts of our time, our skills, our love, and our money. Each Sunday, half of our undesignated offerings go to LifeNet for Families, which is an organization that provides meals, clothing, and support for those in need here in Broward County. The other half supports our mission and our ministry here at River of Grass. Ushers, if you would please come forward to receive the offering. Folks on Zoom and Facebook, information for text to give is posted in the chat. And you can also find other ways to give on the donate page at our website, riverofgrassuu.org.
Okay, y'all remember how this goes. It's not quite the same because we don't have that hollow platform, boom, boom, that gave us that wonderful bass drum. But we can imagine it, and if enough of us, don't hurt yourself, enough of us try out this floor, we can cause a little earthquake here in Davie. We like to make space to thank those people who keep this river flowing and going and growing. And in this time of reemergence, this time of coming back together, this time of gathering in person, I would like to thank, and we shall all thank, those who come in early and stay late to make it possible for us to be here in this space. The folks who come and bring the pieces of their yard. This is from Garen and Carrie. I like that. This is from Karen and Gary's yard. And all those who were here yesterday, the choir members and all the folks who show up early, Rebecca that's getting us out live on the air, Aaron who's doing music arrangements, Rob who is opening and closing the doors and running the PowerPoints up here in this room that is a place that he is native to. We get to see Rob in his natural habitat. Everyone who makes it happen, thank you. And you make it happen. Because it is because of you that we do these things, that we may be together to strengthen one another, to further our mission in this world. And so let us give thanks today for the creation again of River of Grass Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Davie in this place and in this time. It is so good to be with you in this room. Are you ready? You didn't have to do what you did, but you did, but you did. So we thank you. You didn't have to do what you did, but you did, but you did. So we thank you.
This morning we're going to read one of my favorite stories. It's called Old Turtle, written by Douglas Wood with watercolors by Cheng-Ki Chi. So let's see just who this old turtle is. Once, long, long ago, yet somehow not so very long, when all the animals and rocks and winds and waters and trees and birds and fish and all the beings of the world could speak and understand one another, there began an argument. It began softly at first, quiet as the first breeze that whispered, "He is a wind who is never still." Quiet as the stone that answered, "He is a great rock that never moves." Gentle as the mountain that rumbled, "God is a snowy peak high above the clouds." And the fish in the ocean that answered, "God is a swimmer in the dark blue depths of the sea." "No," said the star. "God is a twinkling and a shining far, far away." "No," replied the ant. "God is a sound and a smell and a feeling who is very, very close." "God," insisted the antelope, "is a runner, swift and free, who loves to leap and race with the wind." "She is a great tree," murmured the willow, "a part of the world, always growing and always giving." "You are wrong," argued the island. "God is separate and apart. God is like the shining sun, far above all things," added the blue sky. "No, he's a river who flows through the very heart of things," thundered the waterfall. "She's a hunter," roared the lion. "God is gentle," chirped the robin. "He is powerful," growled the bear. And the argument grew louder and louder and louder until, "Stop!" A new voice spoke. It rumbled softly like thunder, and it whispered softly like butterfly sneezes. The voice seemed to come from, it seemed to come from Old Turtle. Old Turtle hardly ever said anything and certainly never argued about God, but now Old Turtle began to speak. "God is indeed deep," she said to the fish in the sea, "and much higher than high," she told the mountains. "He is swift and free as the wind, and still and solid as a great rock," she said to the breezes and stones. "She is the life of the world," Turtle said to the willow. "Always close by, yet beyond the farthest twinkling light," she told the ant and the star. "God is gentle and powerful, above all things and within all things. God is all that we dream of and all that we seek," said Old Turtle. all that we come from, and all that we can find. God is. Old Turtle had never said so much before. All the beings of the world were surprised and became very quiet. But Old Turtle had one more thing to say. There will soon be a new family of beings in the world, she said, and they will be strange and wonderful. They will be reminders of all that God is. They will come in many colors and shapes, with different faces and different ways of speaking. Their thoughts will soar to the stars, but their feet will walk the earth. They will possess many powers. They will be strong yet tender, a message of love from God to the earth, and a prayer from the earth back to God. And the people came. But the people forgot. They forgot that they were a message of love and a prayer from the earth. And they began to argue about who knew God and who did not, and where God was and was not, and whether God was and was not. And often the people misused their powers and hurt one another or killed one another. And they hurt the earth. Until finally even the forests began to die, and the rivers, and the oceans, and the plants, and the animals, and the earth itself, because the people could not remember who they were or where God was. Until one day there came a voice like the growling of thunder, but as soft as butterfly sneezes. Please, stop! The voice seemed to come from the mountain, who rumbled, "Sometimes I see God swimming in the dark blue depths of the sea." And from the ocean, who sighed, "He is often among the snow-capped peaks reflecting the sun." From the stone, who said, "I sometimes feel her breath as she blows by." And from the breeze, who whispered, "I feel his still presence as I dance among the rocks." And the star declared, "God is very close." And the island added, "His love touches everything." And after a long, lonesome, and scary time, the people listened and began to hear and to see God in one another and in the beauty of all the earth. And Old Turtle smiled, and so did God. Oh, it does. Arr. It's a very big smile. Now we're going to go off to class. Yay!
Let's sing them out. We love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. Oh, they keep us so honest, don't they? Their questions, and it always reminds me of also growing up in that time when I asked questions that got me in big trouble. And it was those same questions that led me to you. Maybe that's true for you as well. The questions that got me in trouble other places led me here. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 ow, 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 ow. Aye, 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 ow, 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 ow. We call to the spirits of the east, spirit of air. Be with us as we celebrate the turning of this fall season. Reveal to us your gifts and your bounty, blessed be. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 ow, 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 ow. Aye, 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 ow, 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 ow. We call to the spirits of the south, spirit of fire, be with us as we celebrate this turning of the fall season. Reveal to us your gifts and your bounty. Blessed be. We call to the spirits of the west, the spirit of water. Be with us as we celebrate this turning of the fall season. Reveal to us your gifts and your bounty. Blessed be. We call to the spirit of the north, spirit of earth. Be with us as we celebrate this turning of the fall season. Reveal to us your gifts and your bounty. Blessed be. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 ow, 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 ow. Aye, 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 ow, 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 ow. This coming week, we mark the time of the autumnal equinox, the pagan Sabbat of Mabon in the northern hemisphere. It is a time of the harvest festival of Oktoberfest, a time for reflection and assessment, a time of equal light and dark to discover where we, ourselves, require balance. This is a time we assess what we may need to come into balance in our own lives. For nothing happens outside of us that does not happen also within us. And so at the same time we assess what we may need, we also are called upon to assess what is needed from us that all the world may come into balance. We are part of the whole, as our seventh principle teaches, the respect for the interdependent web of all being, the interdependent. We often say that, the interconnected web, but it actually is written the interdependent web of all being, of which we are a part, but only a part. As we move from summer sun toward the long, cool nights of winter, it is tempting to bemoan the coming darkness. Let us not. For in truth, it is in the dark that all life prepares to emerge and grow. It is within the dark of earth that seeds gather strength to push up into buds. It is within the dark of the egg that the baby bird grows its wings. It is within the dark of the womb that our own newborn life springs into being. It is from the dark, warm waters of life on earth that everything else emerged. It is within the dark, cool mountain caves that great beasts retreat to take their rest. Likewise, our own bodies, our own minds, our own spirits breathe out a sigh at the close of the day as we find our own solace as the light fades and the dark rises. Let us not bemoan the dark. The dark waits for us, not as a harbinger of harm, but as the keeper of dreams. Even when the dark is sweet, and the dreams are sweet, the dark does then, perforce, give way to light. Whether it is the rising of the sun, or the lighting of a flame, or waking from dreams, that we might more fully live them. That we might learn at the end of the dark, that at the end is the light we seek, which also waits for us. At this moment in time, when we find ourselves emerging from another time of change, of uncertainty, of loss, and of trauma, that lingers even now, and we're not even fully aware of all that we will be dealing with in the days, months, weeks, and years to come after all this change. As we emerge again into a world that we know is forever different, and that even some of those things that appear the same on the surface, underneath something is different. And sometimes we can't quite tell what it is. And underneath some of that change we find in our own mirrors. For we don't even know yet how we are changed. It's one of the reasons we gather, to try to better understand. What is waiting for us at this time of reemergence? What waits for us within ourselves, within our world, within our communities, but most especially in our relationships and how we live them? For most certainly, of all the traumas that we have shared, and the whole world has shared them, we are not alone. It's not just us. And it's not just this congregation. It's not just this tradition. It's every organization, every system we know. As we come back together, we have to relearn relationship. What is waiting for us in relationship now? For part of the deepest suffering of the last 2.5 years was having to be apart. The social disruption, the family disruption, and for some, the utter isolation experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic. As we reemerge, what waits for us in relationship? As we reemerge, perhaps the biggest question before us after this time of prolonged disruption is, what is belonging anyway? What does it mean to belong? After I spent the last 2 years with you in screens. And hallelujah for screens and for the effort that went into our being able to stay connected there. Do you remember when COVID came down in March of 2020? Do you remember that we got this congregation up online inside of a week? That we went from an in-person worship service to a solely digital worship service in a week, and most of you were there in your screens because people fanned out across this county and helped those who didn't understand the tech to get up on their laptops or on their iPads or on their phones so we could see one another, because we weren't going to lose each other. That was miraculous. And as we reemerge and we start trying to get back to something that feels like normal, I think we forget what we did and why we did it. What does belonging mean now, when so many of our societal and organizational and familial structures have shifted? Some of them may never shift back. Some people realized they needed to be within miles of their family, not days, so that if this should ever happen again, they didn't have to wait 2 years to be together. What does it mean to belong now when so much has shifted and so much will never shift back? And granted, some of it should never shift back, but shift forward into who we are and how we will be now. Some of the connections are truly broken. And some of those broken connections must be guided back into healthy, robust relationship. They must be helped with healing, restoration of connections lost, desperately needed in this world. Because we learned what it is to be without one another. And we never want to be there again. So at this autumnal equinox, what does Earth have to teach us? At this turning of the season, what does Earth have to teach us about the seasons of belonging? Like everything else in life, there are layers to this, so stay with me. One layer can be considered quite literally the seasons of the physical ages and stages of the human lifespan. Spring as the miracle of birthing and new life emerging. Summer as the passions of youth. Autumn as the gathering and deepening of the middle years. Winter as a time of rest and strength and deepening and stability and strength. And then spring again when new generations are born. One layer intertwines with the layer of the physical ages and stages and are called the stages of spiritual growth, spiritual development. That includes our psychological development, our emotional development, the development of what some of us may call our soul, our inner being. Perhaps the best known conceptualization of this is known as James Fowler's Stages of Faith. It's a classic in the study of the human experience. Now, first note that the word faith here is quite broad and encompasses a highly inclusive and nuanced array of belief systems and aspects of human existence that all boil down to the ever-persistent existential question that brings us together again and again and again. Why are we even here? What does all this mean? In his book, Fowler delineates 7 stages of spirituality, eventually considering an 8th, that also fall into a pattern of seasons of spiritual growth. Stages 1 and 2, spring, birthing, a childlike experiential approach to the world with no expectations but the beginnings of intuitive perceptions. Stages 2 and 3 align with the passions of summer and youth, gaining both mythic, literal understandings of the world and relationships emerging through identity. Stages 4 and 5 give us autumn and the middle years as we begin to take responsibility for ourselves and for our lives and move from a me-centered world to a we-oriented world. A community-inclusive view of the world as we engage in self-reflection and wrangle difficult questions about not only who we are, but how we relate with others, as we begin to know it's not just me, it's not just us, it is all of us. And this is how we begin to learn to belong beyond our own tight circles of self-concerned desire. Finally, stages 5 through 7 and ultimately 8 deliver us to a more universalizing faith, a system of belief and behavior that centers on equality between people around compassion and the desire for a greater unity, realizing we are not separate beings at all, but collective beings of experience and wisdom and wonder, not limited by our differences, which in the light of deeper understanding need not separate us, but which can lead us again to a spiritual spring of rebirth in relationship with one another. And then there's another layer relative to our relationships personally and collectively in community. Any given relationship may be in its spring, its autumn, its summer, its winter. It's illustrated right here in this room. Some of you came here for the first time today. You're in the spring of relationship. Some of you are the winter folk who've been here since day one. The rest of us are somewhere in between. So with all of these layers of the stages of human development, of the stages of our physical lives and our spiritual lives and now our community life, we are in all of these layers of relationship and development at all times. It's a beautiful thing. And the thing that is most beautiful is in this place, in a room like this. Each of you that walks in here brings all the rest of us the possibility of spring, of newness, of new energy, of new ideas, of new ways of being, of new love, and of new hope. You bring that here. All of these things are operating at all times. And finally, organizations themselves have their own seasons, their own cycles of birth, passion, a settling, a rest of the elder years, and back to birth again. And that is what we're about. We're not about just being here and now. We're about being here for every generation to come. All of this is going on all the time, and somehow, most of the time, without even really thinking about it, without even really talking about it, we just kind of do it. But when COVID interrupted, we had a chance to take a good look at who we are and what in us is true, and assess how we'll go from here. In this season of the autumnal equinox, the pagan holiday of Mabon, this time of temporary equal light and dark, note the word temporary, it's a perfect time to think about it. It's a perfect time to ask, through the lens of the autumnal equinox, what does this season of belonging mean to me, to we, to this community, and to the world? It's a perfect time to remember that just because the autumn leaves fall, it doesn't mean there will be no spring. Just because winter is coming doesn't mean there will not be new life on the other side of it. So here we find ourselves, once more, a part of the interdependent web of all life, realizing again that we are not separate from the earth, nor are we exempt from her cycles of birth and death and rebirth. Reflecting on this, the Reverend Forrest Gilmore, director of the Shalom Community Center in Bloomington, Indiana, shared this. Our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, is a glorious statement. Yet we make a profound mistake when we limit it to merely an environmental idea. It is so much more. It is our response to the great dangers inherent in both individualism and oppression. It is our solution to the seeming conflict between individual and group. Our seventh principle may be our Unitarian Universalist way of coming to fully embrace something greater than ourselves. The interdependent web expressed as spirit of life, the ground of all being, the oneness of all existence, the community-forming power, the process of life, the creative force, even the word God can help us develop that relational understanding of ourselves that we and our culture so desperately need now. It is a source of meaning to which we can dedicate our lives. The relational understanding we so desperately need, and a source of meaning to which we can dedicate our lives. And here, my beloveds, is the essence of the seasons of belonging. The relational understanding that helps us helps us to become a people of belonging. The meaning of which we can dedicate our lives to. Understanding that the seasons of our own belonging are measured, are intertwined with all other seasons of belonging. Mine is intertwined with each of yours. We are part of each other. Now that we've just been in this room this one morning, we are forever connected. Even if, please all the gods and goddesses, it's not so, but even if I should never see you again, for whatever reason, you have become part of my life, my circle of being, my interdependent web, forever. And there's nothing you can do about it. Our understanding of our seasons of belonging are not measured in what we get, but in what we give. And one of the most crucial, bonding, and powerful things we can give to one another is the sheer power of our presence. Our sheer power of being in beloved community, no matter what, fulfilling our vow of service, that covenant that we say every time we gather, our vow of service to this community and to the world, and our promise, our steadfast promise that none of us goes this way alone. Where you go, I will go. 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 And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go. 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 And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. One more time, let's do it. Where you go, I will go. 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 And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. May we be that people. May it be so. For one another.
That's a hard thing to follow, Rev Amy, with something as mundane but important as announcements.
That's how we keep it all going, though.
Keep it going, you're right. We offer so many ways here at River of Grass to live out our Unitarian Universalist faith. You'll find a lot of them listed in our very lengthy and extensive weekly email that hopefully all of you are receiving. It comes out on Thursdays. You can... What is going on? Sorry. Spam. You can also... Those spam people. You can also visit our website, which I've just learned we never say www, we just say riverofgrassuu.org. There's a lot of information there. In addition, though, here are some things that we want you to be aware of that are important upcoming events for the good and the life of this beloved community. So first of all, a little bit of an explanation about our new worship schedule. So we're going to be meeting here in this building on the first and third Sunday of every month. And also, I'm not sure about Christmas Eve. We'll be meeting in person on Christmas Eve, but I think it's TBD? We're working on it. Okay, we're working on it. Flexible stability. Every Sunday we will always have Zoom, right? That's always going to be an option. So first and third Sunday here, it's called what we call multi-platform, right? So here, or you could also access via Zoom as we have this morning. In January, however, we're going to change locations. We're moving to the Old Davie School, and we will begin meeting every Sunday in person. Again, it will be multi-platform, so Zoom will always be available, but we'll be meeting in person every Sunday of the month at 2 p.m., just to keep things interesting. 2 p.m. for a few months. So, in January, right. So, we are going to be explaining this over and over again because we know it's a little complex, but that's the plan. Okay, so for membership, as I'm the membership chair, I get to make membership announcements. We need volunteers. This is a really important function, and it's so much fun. It's a great way to get to know people, new people in particular. But we're looking for people who would like to help us get in touch with some of our members that we haven't seen for a while, stay in closer touch with them through outreach. We're looking for people who like to meet new people and would like to help with following up with our visitors. And we're also starting a new ministry, which is providing people rides on Sundays, because some of our folks would love to be here in person, but can't get here on their own. So if anybody would like to do any of those three things, you can talk to me, or you can send an email to membership@riverofgrassuu.org. And we're also so excited that we're reinitiating our Faith Forward Inquirer sessions, which is for new people particularly, but also we welcome anybody, even those who have been here since, how did you put it? Since the very first day? The winter folk. The winter folk are also welcome. So we're starting that again today. We're going to meet after service. Rev Amy is going to lead a discussion. So this is officially called Q&A with the minister. So we are not going to
Stump the minister.
Q&A, okay. So we won't be in this room. We're going to be in room 130, which is back toward where you came in and down that way. Ask anybody if you can't find it. We'll go from 11:45, so you can grab some snacks, some coffee, and then head that way, and we will be done by 1 o'clock. So it's not a long session. We wish it could be longer, because there's always so much to talk about. But thank you, Rev Amy, for leading that today. In our faith development class for kids today, we're reflecting on interconnection and belonging to everything around us. So our kids are off doing that now with Karen and other teachers. They'll be reflecting, meditating, and playing with the idea that we belong to the world around us rather than it belonging to us. For questions about our children's programs or to register your child, you can email our Director of Faith Development, Karen Gonzalez. And her email address is religiousEducator@riverofgrassuu.org. Okay, one of the things that's important to us is making this world a better place, working together to make this a more just, equitable, and loving world. So you have your chance today to take a step for social justice. In partnership with UU the Vote and Vote Forward, you can help get out the vote in Florida. So after worship today, out there by our picnic area, you'll find postcards and letters, pens and scripts to help you reach out to Florida voters and get them to the polls, urge them to go to the polls this November. For those who are on Zoom, follow the link in the chat to the Vote Forward website where you can create a free account to print your own letters to voters. Our fifth principle reminds us that we promote the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. Let's live this principle out and put our faith into action. So please take a few moments during hospitality to give to the greater good. And speaking of hospitality, it's back. Now that we're meeting in person, we all know that one of our most sacred moments is coffee hour. So We need people. We need people who would like to bake, who would like to bring things. Since we'll be meeting in person twice a month, we do need volunteers. Jerry Mikulski, would you raise your hand? She has stepped forward to become our coordinator. So if you would love to help in that way, please talk to her. We need people to bring goodies, to help set up, to help clean up. And Jerry would love to get your help with that. I think that's it for the announcements.
All right. We have a lot going on. We always do. One of the best ways to find a feeling of belonging is to get involved. And we have so many ways that you can do that, from little things to big things. All of it makes it go. All of it makes it go. You know, when you're creating a beautiful meal and you have all these fantastic ingredients like we have here, it still may not taste all that great without that final little pinch of salt. You can be the pinch of salt that makes the meal complete. Please rise in body or in spirit to encourage one another as we release this flame from its faithful service this day. We extinguish this light, but not the warmth of community, not the power that is within us, not the light that leads us on. Please turn to your neighbor and grant your neighbor courage and care for the coming days. 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 As we depart this place, let us hold before our eyes the vision of a world transformed and dare to transform ourselves to make it so. Until we meet again, shine on.